Let's get back to the top political stories I just mentioned. A major apology coming from Hillary Clinton for part of what she said last night, talking about, let me read you part of it. She said last night, to be grossly generalistic, you can put half of Trump supporters into what I call a basket of deplorables, going on to say the racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, you name it. All right, let's talk about all of this with our political panel. With me now, CNN senior media correspondent and host of Reliable Sources, Brian Stelter, CNN political commentator and Washington correspondent for The New Yorker, Ryan Lizza, also the former chairman of the Washington, D.C. Democratic Party and a Hillary Clinton supporter, A. Scott Bolden. On the other side, Scotty Nell Hughes, CNN political commentator and a Donald Trump supporter. Thank you all for being here. Let me begin with you, Ryan Lizza. I want a gut check from you here, okay? Because Donald Trump came out this morning, and here's what he tweeted. Wow, Hillary Clinton was so insulting to my supporters, millions of amazing, hardworking people. I think it will cost her at the polls. Ryan, was it a mistake for her to go after Trump's supporters rather than just going after Trump?
Well, you took the words right out of my mouth. I think in politics, it's never a good idea for someone, especially at that level, to paint someone's supporters with a broad brush. I mean, frankly, whether it's accurate or not, you're running against Donald Trump. You're not running against his voters. Mm-hmm. And, we've seen other politicians kind of step in it by doing this before, Barack Obama famously in 2008. And I think that's why she came out so quickly and corrected this. Right. Now we can get into a discussion about what Trump supporters believe. Is there any truth to some of the comments she made? But just purely politically, not fact-checking what she said, she made a political mistake. You don't attack someone's supporters. You don't insult someone's supporters. You attack and insult the candidate himself. And I think that was her political mistake here, Poppy.
Look, and she came out very fast, and she apologized for it. I mean, part of our reporting on that from our Jeff Zeleny is the reason she did that so quickly to apologize is because the campaign felt they had to, that they want to double down on the belief that some of his supporters are indeed what she said they are, racist, etc. And they couldn't get past that and get to that until they did apologize for saying half of them. Let me read you the other half of what she said, because she said the other basket of Trump supporters are people who feel the government has let them down, the economy has let them down, nobody cares about them, and they are just desperate for change. So Brian Stelter, to you, that's the totality of what she said last night. Back to the basket of deplorables.
Right.
Is she correct in saying that? Not the half part, but in how she described a chunk of his support.
That's the thing about this story today. I think we have to separate whether she was right from whether she was smart to do it. And Ryan, I think you were trying to get at that by talking about fact-checking her versus talking about whether she was smart to do it. We have to confront, as a society, that some Trump supporters are racist and sexist and homophobic and xenophobic. Some Hillary Clinton supporters are also racist and sexist, etc., etc. A lot of research, a lot of data would suggest if you have those repulsive views, you're more likely to support Trump than you are to support Clinton. That said, some of those folks also support Clinton. We should confront the reality of the situation and then talk about whether she was smart to say it or not. But there's no doubt about it that there are, when you go to Trump's rallies, people who have repulsive, despicable views, people that don't believe the president is actually the president, people that believe that he's a Muslim, people that believe that, we can go on and on about some of the horrible things that are believed, and also, views about blacks and Hispanics as well.
Right.
That doesn't mean all Trump supporters feel that way. But some of it is deplorable. And let's not pretend like some of it's not deplorable while we freak out about what she said last night.
Well, I think the context of this, this comes back to the issue of, Trump's top surrogates like Rudy Giuliani this week and Kellyanne Conway, his campaign manager, came out and said Trump believes the president was born in the United States. The candidate himself hasn't said that. And therefore you have, some of his supporters at these rallies also not believing that President Obama was born in the United States. Scott, to you, as a Clinton supporter, she has now come out, she has apologized, but I'm just wondering, she says I shouldn't have said half. As a Clinton supporter, is there a percentage of Trump supporters that you think are racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, etc.?
Oh, I'm not going to go down that road after the apology. Let me just say this. There is a verifiable, documented element of his campaign that are just what my colleague said, that are racist, homophobic, xenophobic, and we've got those words out of Donald Trump's mouth. He's hired Breitbart's CEO. There is support, documentary support for this. Having said that, it's not fair to say half, and she was being generalistic. I'm glad she apologized. But who she was really trying to get at is the other group of people who feel left behind by the economy. That's really who she was talking to, because many of those folks and other Republicans who have walked away from Donald Trump aren't comfortable with that racially charged rhetoric, or the alt-right, or the white nationalists or white supremacists that he's been mainstreaming. And that does represent a part of the rallies that he seems to be so enamored about. It is an element, a large element of his supporters at those rallies.
I think it's an important point to dissect. And Scotty Nell, to you, here's why. Because Nick Merrill of the Clinton camp tweeted a series of tweets last night saying basically there is a distinction between her saying supporters and all of the voters, meaning he said she was only talking about the supporters, the people at the rallies, the people that Scott is talking about, not voters as a larger group. Semantics, parsing words, what do you make of what Nick Merrill did there?
Well, first I'll have to ask you, Poppy, because I've not been able to read the entire statement. Does she actually say "I'm sorry" in there? Is there an actual apology?
She does not.
Or is it just regret?
Let's pull up. Let's pull
she regrets half.
Let's pull it up.
Okay.
Let's pull it up for our viewers, guys. Let's pull it up. Okay. Last night it was grossly generalistic, and that's never a good idea. I regret saying half. That was wrong. She goes on to say, it's deplorable, though, that Trump has built his campaign largely on prejudice and paranoia and given a national platform to hateful views and voices. And there's more of it. But she uses the word regret.
Regret. There's a lot of people in jail today that regrets what they did because they got caught. This was not the first time that Hillary Clinton said this comment. She said it the day before on Israeli television, as CNN's reporting, and there was no brouhaha about it. It's because she was saying it to a group of millionaires that paid about $50,000, some of them, to be there that day. She felt she was amongst her regular elitist crowd, that she could make such a comment, insulting. And even if she just meant his supporters, 14 million in the primary. That's a large amount of numbers that she just supported, and the only reason why she's issuing this is because of the backlash of the people that she's trying to attract a vote for. But her colors have been shown by this comment once again.
All right, we're going to get a break in. This conversation clearly needs to continue after it. And Ryan, Liz, after the break, I'm going to come to you and I'm going to ask you about that. Was this an elitist statement for Hillary Clinton to make? Was she talking down to millions of Americans next? All right, my panel is back with me. Again, the breaking news this hour, Hillary Clinton coming out just in the past hour and apologizing, saying she regrets, saying that half of Donald Trump's supporters are, quote, a basket of deplorables. Ryan, Liz, before the break, I said that I would ask you about whether that or not that is an elitist comment. I mean, Scotty now points to the 14 million plus people who voted for Trump in the primary. One would assume there's even more supporters in a general, so cut that in half. You're talking about at least 7 million Americans that she was referring to there. There's this perception when she speaks at these major fundraisers like she was at here in New York last night, where she raised some $6 million, and that she's just speaking to her supporters, her rich supporters, and therefore not getting pressed with tough questions until she started having those press conferences again this week. Do you read it as an elitist comment?
I read it as someone trying to do, frankly, what any of us have been trying to do all year, is trying to figure out who Trump supporters are, what makes them tick, what are the issues that drive them. I mean, frankly, if someone on one of these panels had said what she said, nobody would have batted an eyelash, right? All the time we're sitting here talking about, hey, why do people support Trump? Is it because he wants to ban Muslims and keep Latin American immigrants out of the country and deport people, and because of these sort of race-based appeals, or is it economic anxiety and he's sort of pointing to something deeper in the economy? I mean, I frankly read it as her grappling with that phenomenon. Will some people read that as elitist? Maybe. She's talking to a sort of sophisticated audience there. It's not something I imagine she's going to be talking about, out on the stump in Pennsylvania appealing to voters.
It's not the first time she said it. I mean, she actually said it a week ago on Israeli television. same thing, same word.
That's right. Yeah, and I noticed. I think it was reported. I saw. I think U.S. News reported the comment recently as well. Sometimes something is out there, but it takes someone. We in the media, we on TV, paying attention to it to really blow it up.
And there were cameras in the fundraiser, amazingly.
Yeah,
I mean, saying some people who have racist views is deplorable. It's not controversial to say that racists are deplorable. It's controversial to say half of Trump's supporters.
Guys, let's just take a moment. I want to go ahead. Finish your thought, Ryan.
No. I mean, I don't know what the answer. I don't know if it's half, if it's a quarter, if it's 1%. I don't think anyone does, because studying people's views on race is extremely difficult.
Right.
Sociologists,
Holly, the number, if I may, the number using that number was offensive and wrong. But the context or the facts to support these two groups that we all, I think, would agree that support Donald Trump, that's not offensive, and that's what she's going to double down on going forward. But she shouldn't paint that whole group with broad brush, because she can't name all of his supporters, silent or public.
All right, let's take a listen to what Hillary Clinton said last night, and then I want to compare it to something that President Obama said when he was running, and Mitt Romney. Let's play Clinton first.
To just be grossly generalistic, you could put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables. Right? The racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, you name it.
All right, so now let's compare it to President Obama and Mitt Romney and comments that they made that stirred up controversy when they were running.
There are 47% of the people who will vote for the president no matter what. All right, there are 47% who are with him, who are dependent upon government, who believe that they are victims, who believe that government has a responsibility to care for them, who believe that they're entitled to health care, to food, to housing, to you name it.
Each successive administration has said that somehow these communities are going to regenerate, and they have not. So it's not surprising then that they get better and they cling to guns or religion.
So there you have it, clinging to guns and religion. The president actually came out and said that that was a, quote, bonehead comment afterwards. Mitt Romney, with the 47%, regretted saying that. Brian Seltzer, to you, is there an equivalency here?
Well, these all happen at private fundraisers. That's why there's only audio of Romney and Obama. And I'm glad we heard all these cases. I want to know what these politicians really think behind closed doors at the events that we can't afford to attend. I want to know how they feel about the electorate. And frankly, those were called gaffes in 2008, 2012. We don't have gaffes anymore, right? Gaffes have been rendered obsolete by this election. There's no such thing as a gaffe anymore. It seems like Donald Trump has proved that with a series of things that used to be considered gaffes. He gets credit for saying things that are considered politically incorrect. Maybe that's what Clinton was doing last night. And maybe it's a good thing that we know what she was thinking, what she was feeling. She can say she regrets the word half. I'm not sure she actually does or not. I think we're better off now knowing what she thinks.
Scotty Nell, to you, it's interesting because, Scotty Nell, I want to get you in here again. Brian talked about, the lack of political correctness in what she said, and that's what Trump's been saying this whole time. We're too politically correct.
That is true, but what I think something we've missed was how loud the audience laughed when she said basket of deplorables. If these that's interesting that they laughed after. If the words, the adjectives she used that followed it were so bad, those are not laughing matters, folks. If there is actually a group of people that is that evil, I don't want them in America. I don't like them in America, and they shouldn't be laughing about it. And I think this goes, I'm just trying to figure out which basket I belong into, or maybe the 54% of married women that support Donald Trump, or the 55% of veterans and military.
Here's the thing.
That's actually part of the problem, Scotty.
That is an element of Donald Trump's campaign.
Are not on TV. The racists and the sexists, they're not getting booked on TV. For the most part, we keep white nationalists and racists and xenophobes off television. So we're actually not seeing that hate speech that happens at Trump's rallies.
Here's the thing. This element, this white supremacist, this alt-right is an element, an important element to Donald Trump's campaign. The difference between
That is clarify what you're talking about, Scotty. Who are you referring to?
I'm talking about the alt-right. I'm talking about the white supremacist movement who are supporting them in significant numbers. I'm saying take away the painting the broad brush out of her comments. These two groups are real, and the difference between her statement and Obama's statement and Mitt Romney's statement is that this has been a substantive narrative that Donald Trump and his campaign have brought to the table for the presidential race. He's hired the CEO of Breitbart. He's supported and retweeted, white supremacist comments and stuff. He's been xenophobic in regard to Muslims and Mexicans and African Americans. He's done all this, and the Democrats and Hillary Clinton are simply responding to it, and then he wants to cry foul. That makes no sense.
I think it's hilarious that the Democrats are sitting there trying to make themselves out to be white and virginous and absolutely honest. That's the exact opposite. There are fringe extreme elements on both sides.
I got to get one other thing. One other thing in here, guys, because I haven't had a moment to play this, but Donald Trump said something pretty startling last night as well. Okay, and he talked about what he thinks Hillary Clinton could do and not get prosecuted for, and he was talking about violence. Let's play this.
Protected. She could walk into this arena right now and shoot somebody with 20,000 people watching right smack in the middle of the heart, and she wouldn't be prosecuted, okay? That's what's happened. That is what's happened to our country. I never thought I'd...
Ryan Lizza, your thought on that? He's attacking Clinton, not her supporters. That's the difference, right? But still.
I think there's a good chance she would be prosecuted if she did that. I mean, look, I think when Trump says this, he is trying to paint with a very broad brush the Justice Department and the head of the FBI, who looked at the situation with Clinton's emails and decided that no fair prosecutor would bring a case against her. And instead of arguing, well, wait a second, the law says this, and here are some cases where that actually happened, instead of arguing against what Comey said and responding to it, there is this idea now in the Trump campaign that she is above the law. I haven't seen anyone make the counter-argument to Comey that a prosecutor would have brought that case. I think it's a pretty big leap to go from, oh, she wasn't prosecuted for the email situation, so she could shoot someone in the heart.
I mean, it's obviously hyperbole, but that's the point he's trying to make. Guys, I do have to leave it there. Ryan Lizza, Scott Bolden, Scotty Nell Hughes, Brian Stelter, thank you all.
Thanks, Bob.
All right.
Thank you.